All righty. So we have more questions. I found this in a Facebook group. Oftentimes, people post in these groups, they have concerns about whether or not it's safe. Let's say, for example, in Mexico, is it safe to live in Mexico? My family feel that I'm putting my children in danger. Where should I live? What area is safe? I don't want to put my family in extreme danger. Is this realistic? These types of questions people tend to ask. And so I came across this in a Facebook group called Expats and Immigrants in the Yucatan. And remember, I always say search these Facebook groups, post your questions, read other questions from other people that have posted previously as part of your research. You always want to be digging deep. So we're going to do the same format that I did last time. I'm going to see, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to post some of the comments on the screen here as well so that you can see as we go through. So this was posted. I'm just going to read it out loud. I feel, just want to make sure y'all can see it on the screen. Yep. I feel incredibly vulnerable posting this, but here goes. My family and I frequent Mexico, but only the touristy parts, like Mexico City, Cozumel, much of Quintana Roo. My husband and I have recently been to Tijuana. Living in the United States is exhausting. I am a mental health therapist and run my business remotely. I have two children, 9 and 13. We have limited Spanish speaking skills, but want to increase them through immersion. I desire a simple life, which I understand is a privileged perspective. My plan is to start visiting cities and areas that are less touristy. I would like to commit to making a move for at least 6 months. Parents with children, my children's age, is it easier to live more simple in Mexico? Less keeping up with the Joneses? Question mark. I strive for it here in the US, but it's all around us. I want to live with less, but more family time. Ultimately, I know it depends on my choices, but I honestly feel so much conflict in the USA. I fear sending my children to school. People are grumpy and not friendly everywhere I go. My friends seem to think I'm putting my children in extreme danger wanting to move to Mexico. I also have a service dog for a seizure disorder. I understand she doesn't have the same rights in Mexico as she does in the US, but I would be bringing her along as well. A lot of questions, great questions. And I know many folks that I talk to on telephone consultations have similar questions. And it's always good to read other people's perspective. So this particular post got about 30 comments from different people. And so I'm going to share some of my perspectives from time to time, and I'm going to read the other people. And remember, this was in the Facebook group. And remember, there are Facebook groups, no matter what country, no matter what city you want to live in, there's a group out there where you can go in, dig deep, and get real time feedback, information about things that are happening in the city or in the country. And you can make relationships and connections with people before you even arrive to the city. Oftentimes people will have referrals for you if you're looking for an attorney, if you're looking for a real estate agent, if you're looking for schools to send your kids to. They'll generally point you in the right direction, or they'll suggest, hey, there's another Facebook group for homeschool children in Merida. They'll put you in front of these resources. So remember, there's no excuse not to know a lot of stuff before making your way to whatever country you're going to. So first person says life is, let me make sure I am recording. Okay. Life is what you make it. There are plenty of social circles where keeping up with the Joneses is normal, and many that are not. Living simply can certainly be achieved if you can adjust to living more simply and not indulging in the luxuries you choose to get rid of. Surrounding yourself with people that have similar goals and opinions is probably the best choice, no matter where you choose to live. So that's a great question, great response. Um, Someone responds to that by saying, this is true to an extent. For example, my seventh grader came home. In fact, this is the author who wrote the post. For example, my seventh grader came home with a note indicating a cell phone with a camera was required for English class. We didn't want to get a cell phone for him, but it was required. My daughter's class required GF, gluten-free, nut-free, homemade snacks every day. Specific requirements for uniforms, name brand for public schools. We do swim team. It's required. We buy the name brand swimsuit with her name embroidered on it for a city team. Again, it's exhausting. Talking about, she's reiterating how exhausting it is. So somebody else says, hey, I moved here 6 years ago with my daughter who was 12 at the time. Best thing I ever did. Someone also suggests looking to Merida. Remember, they're still looking. And you can see Merida keep popping up on this in this thread. So somebody says, I'm going to post this one here on the screen. This is from a guy named Ryan. Let's see here. Hopefully y'all can see what I got here. Let me increase the font size. That's 18. Bear with me. So it really comes down to finding a place that you want to live. Mexico can be whatever you want it to be. If you want to immerse yourself in the local life or cultures, then you can do that. If you want the high-end lifestyle and quality, you can do that as well. Do you want your children to go to public schools or private schools? Much cheaper here. There are millions of expats that have moved to Mexico and have a wonderful life. If you are concerned with what you watch on the news or what your friends are telling you, I guarantee you will find reasons not to move to Mexico. It all depends where you want to live as well. Some places it's easier for non-Spanish speakers. In some areas, it is essential. 6 months per year is fairly easy, but beyond that, you will need to apply for residency, and that starts in your home country. So a lot of good points. You know, if you want the simple life, as he said, you have that option. If you want fancy and luxury, and a lot of people do, oftentimes I get into these Facebook war, YouTube wars in the comments, folks talking about, oh, this costs too much, and this. Hey, people want what they want. If you want the high-end luxury lifestyle, you got that option. You have that, just like you do in the States. You want to live in the middle, you got middle-class options. You want to live super simply, you got options. And again, one of the things is here, private schools are significantly cheaper here. I've seen schools as low as $100 per month, US dollars per month. I've seen some less than that. And I've seen some schools as much as $400, $500 per month. That's more on the higher end elite schools. Again, significantly less here. That same $400 a month school might be, I don't know, $1,200, $1,500 a month in the States. So you got options. You got options. And again, if you watch the media, if you listen to family and friends, there's going to always be something to scare you or a reason not to come based on what you hear from external forces, which is why it's important to be in groups like this, getting real feedback from people that are actively here, not from folks who never left the country, not from folks who've never lived in another country. You need to be talking to folks that are actively here, that are living here, and not somebody who just passed through for 2 or 3 months and don't real people. This is real live intelligence. This stuff that we're reading from was posted an hour ago. This wasn't something that was posted weeks or months ago. This was posted an hour ago. So this is as real as you get. So the author who posted the initial questions asks this particular person, Ryan, for children who aren't fluent but can hold a conversation in Spanish, can they attend school? I've heard from many people that once you really immerse yourself in the language, fluency starts to excel. So his response, kids will learn faster than adults and does depend on how committed they are. If they can't understand the material, they will miss out on learning. It's a tough choice, and you should definitely interview schools and get multiple opinions. Again, there are, again, whatever city you decide to live in or you're focusing on or thinking about, ask for feedback from families with children in schools. Ask, oftentimes you'll find groups within these groups, different groups in these areas where it's just for families with children that go to public school there or families with children that go to private school there. And that type of question, you can get more real intelligence, real feedback from parents that actively have kids in the school. Now, immersion, of course, they generally going to learn Spanish super fast, and they may lose a year because they're not able to keep up with the work. They might not understand it. Um, they might have some challenges here. Let me make sure, stay in. Might have some difficulty keeping up because of the language barrier. But that's going to only be for a short period of time, a season. Worst case scenario, get some tutors that can help out with the schoolwork as well. But just understand, they may fall behind, but they're going to catch up, and they're going to be better for it when it's all said and done. So if they graduate school or finish school a year later, that's okay. The life experiences that they're going to be getting is going to trump all of that. You see what I'm saying? So this other person says, let me post, let me grab this. They just responding to the initial question. All right. So life is very different in Mexico and has its pros and cons. On the other hand, on the one hand, school shootings are incredibly rare in Mexico. So in that sense, your kids will be safer, but the overall lifetime chance of being murdered is at least 4 times higher, and in some places, 20 or more times higher than the US. But this is still a very small chance. Definitely, your kids will benefit from a different place to live, will be at least more traveled than the average American. The Russian life depends on your place, on the place you choose to live and what social network you will have. Quite different living in San Pedro Garza versus Monterrey with the millionaire Mexicans than living in a small town out in the mountains. It's a very large and diverse country. So someone named Renee responds to this guy's comment about the crime. She says, I think your numbers are skewed. Murders of expats are low and not usually targeted. Most are among gang members. Drug use, homelessness, and rape are all way higher in the US, along with mental health related mass shootings, especially in schools in the US. Very rare in Mexico, where I have lived for 17 years. Okay. So again, you get different feedback, you get different perspectives, which is what this is for. Do your work, do your research. Let's dig in. I live in Pascuaro, Michoacan, and I'm sure, correct me. Folks going to be happy to correct me, which is cold and mountainous. I would live in Yucatan if I could muster the heat. That said, as someone addicted to Maya archaeology, I fell in love with the cultural heart of Michoacan. As the indigenous culture is so strong, art forms varied, parades many, music abundant, etc. I recommend taking some time to move around the country before settling in on one place. I offer tours across the country and have some pretty good insight into how diverse it is here. Please direct message me if you'd like to chat. I don't have children, but know many who do. Mostly, I think it's important to understand microclimates and cultural diversity above all. Mexico is the best decision I have. here 9 years ago. Contact me anytime. You see how friendly people are? People are happy to assist and give direction. You just only need to ask. Sonia says, I joined the World Schooling Facebook groups and asked there. Judith says, come to Merida is one of the safest cities in the world. Leslie says, have you checked the requirements to move to Mexico? Many people have no idea of what Mexico requires. For permanent residency, I believe it is like 300,000 US dollars per person. Not sure about families. Reading through the requirements is a good place to start. The author responds, yes, that's definitely the first place I started. We meet the financial requirements for monthly income, especially since my husband and I will continue to work remotely. Good stuff. Let's see. This individual, Leslie, says, check out the Merida area of the Yucatan Peninsula. Chock full of history, Mayan ruins, lots of opportunities for young folks to absorb the local culture. The area along the coast fill up with expats from around the globe in the winter months, but there are areas that fit your requirements. Medical care here is fantastic. Doctors trained in Canada or the US, many speak English. Apps available quickly. There are schools that teach in English and Spanish. I am a retired mental health professional since 2015. Love my Mexican residency. I too made the move from the United States in 2020. Simply too crazy up across the border. I'm telling y'all, folks are moving here and they living here. And a lot of these folks are here, have been here for a while. I moved here 14 years ago with 2 children, ages 8 and 11 at the time, limited Spanish. We spend, due to my work, 5 years in Mexico City. They attended a local Mexican school, then moved to Quintana Roo. We did it on a budget and enjoyed living simply. Someone else says, put this down here. Ooh, yeah. Y'all liking this format? Would y'all like to see more of this? Let me know, because if not, I won't keep making them. I don't want to waste y'all time. So Steve says, check out Merida, second safest city across the Americas, family-oriented, modernization in progress, rich biodiversity, friendly people. Even in the nicer areas, people are more chill and you don't feel that people are trying to one-up each other. Moved there with my 8-year-old. It's a dream for him. The lack of worry about security is such a huge plus. He can ride his bike to friends' homes within our Pravado. We can be sitting across the park and we're not worried something is going to happen to him. He goes to a bilingual school with most classes in English, but he picked up a ton of Spanish in the first year in Spanish class, but mostly from friends. Second year, he's fluent and more comfortable with it than English now. Work here would pay a lot less. So yes, remote is the way to go. That's some good information. And that was at 8 years old. Someone responds, so much less consumerism here. Someone says, well, the way it's looking now, I would advise to do just that. Your children will be safer and more welcome here than the States. I'm not even living in the United States anymore, but all that is going on there now is exhausting me. Sorry, even my grandkids are older than your children, so I can't give firsthand advice on that. You better drive. He just gutted the TSA. Somebody asked, well, what did he do to the TSA? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now they started to talk about politics. So, all right. So Darlene says, okay, my kids are all grown with kids of their own. So I can't answer your question about moving with children, but we live in Mexico for 6 months a year for the last 4 years. I have learned so much from the lovely Mexican people, how to live a simpler life and value the time spent with family and friends, not just spending money on things. After my first winter here, I went back to Canada and purged my house, getting rid of useless stuff I never used or didn't need. I no longer care about the Joneses. Man, I'm telling y'all, that's a real thing. Folks out here ain't trying to keep up. You start to lose track of all that. You ain't trying to. Now I find myself trying to find the cheapest thing that I can find and spending more time trying to find a better deal on stuff. Not impressed with name brand. Hadn't bought a Ralph Lauren shirt, Tommy, none of that. Nothing since I've been here. And I used to like name brand. I got run around here with no name shoes on, no name pants and shirts. It's liberating, y'all. Welcome. Times are tough, but it's not all the same as U.S. media paints it to be. Join local groups where you're planning to go. Come over for vacation and feel the place around. Private schools here. Immerse your child into culture. As I used to be a teacher at Ateneo here in Merida. Great place, lovely teachers, less consumerism, and more family time here, fresher food. And if you're starving for food from back home, there are loads of American chain food restaurants here. That is true. Let's jump down here. If y'all finding this content helpful, consider a donation. Cash App information is in the description and on the screen. I like to share this information. So, my friends seem to think I'm putting my children in extreme danger wanting to move to Mexico. I think everyone in the group has a family member who is sure they're going to be kidnapped by the cartel tomorrow. Come to the Yucatan where it's hotter than four hills. It's hot and we're all really, really happy to be here. Children in tow and no cartel bother Americans kidnap them in sight. There's a protection zone they created in the Merida area to protect their own families. Social science tells us that drug trafficking cannot exist in instability. It's not possible. The black market requires dependability as much as any healthy individual. So Merida metro area happens to be one of those areas of remarkably safe areas that we all get to enjoy. All right. I really found that simplicity living in Belize when my kids were young. We lived in a very local neighborhood and didn't even own shoes after the first 6 months. We've never felt more welcomed by a community. We felt a lot more integrated into the community and culture there than we have in Riviera Maya so far. Maybe because we're struggling to learn a new language here. My kids gave up and went back to Canada after 6 to 18 months in Mexico, but begged to move back to Belize. It's a completely different vibe. I love Mexico, but for young kids, Belize was an amazing place to live. They were 7 and 9 when we moved there, and they roamed our neighborhood freely with our family dog, fishing, and exploring. The neighbors would keep an eye on them when they were out bike riding or walking up to the store for snacks, etc. It really felt like stepping back in time. I think a small town in Mexico might offer the same vibe, but hard to find in a coastal area. I love living in a small mountain town in Veracruz, and my kids probably would have enjoyed it as well. Lots of wide open green spaces to run, climb, and explore. Someone says Merida and Progreso, second safest place in North America. And okay, we're down. I think we're almost done. Tina says, I am here on a budget. My rent is very affordable. My house is perfect for me. I love my neighborhood. I enjoy the people and many aspects of the Yucatan culture. Too many to list. The Yucatecos themselves been high on that list. Life here is easy and life here is hard. Prepare for problems with water, electricity, and internet. Fixes for those problems will take longer. There will be lines, so many lines, and things will be done in scratch your head, confusing ways. But it's easy to get into that. But it's easy to get into the pool. The beach is close. It's easy to walk to. It's easy to walk to errands, or just for fun. Most of the year, if you're early or late enough, it's easy to make friends. I'm learning to relax, go with the flow. I'm becoming a calmer, better person. I wish I'd brought my children when they were young. So, and the last person says, test it out first. Make sure you have an exit plan. Everything is not always what it seems. Great advice. Exit plan. Be thinking about that. Always be having you need a backup plan, a contingency plan, because sometimes things just don't go well. And like Tina says, yes, you're gonna have some trying times while you're trying to adapt and adjust. Long lines, that's the thing. Power might not work right, might go out. We haven't had too many issues with electricity. We lived in a subdivision that had a faulty transformer and we had some problems with that. But overall in Merida, the stability of the internet has been super stable. Internet, electricity has been super stable. Some areas might have issues with, which is why it's important to be asking questions and posting in these groups so you can get an idea of where to be and where not to be. The culture here is different. They're laid back. They move at a different pace. They move slow. They move different. They're not going to move as fast as you're used to them moving in the United States. They're not going to respond to you in a timely manner either. They move at their own pace. They go slow. They take their time. They're not impressed by your dollar money. They're not money motivated like that. Meaning, if their cousin's niece has a birthday party, they will cancel your appointment and not show up. Won't call because they're going to that little girl's birthday party, and for them, it's understood that's more important. So you can have a great life. You can live a simple life. You can live an extravagant life. You can live a luxurious life. You get to pick it all out. It's yours for the taking. The key thing is, of course, you need to do your research and you need to plan. You need Move Abroad and Thrive. You need to come check it out. Come visit the place. Don't feel that and come stay for 30 days. Come stay for 2 weeks. Come stay for 2 months. You don't have to go all the way in from day one. Take your time. Check it out. If you have questions, hop on the phone. Let's book a consultation. MoveAbroadandThrive.com. You'll see a link that says consultation. Book a consultation. Let's talk. We have an academy there as well. Link that says courses. Click on that. We'll help you plan this thing out and plan your trip so that you can have a smooth transition. You want to plan this out. You don't want any of this to be random. Inside of the academy, we have everything in one place where you can organize and structure and plan this thing out. So I'd encourage you to do that. As always, if you find our content helpful, consider a small donation. MoveAbroadandThrive.com. You'll see a link that says donation. Click on that and it'll list the ways you can contribute. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.